Based on true events experienced at the abandoned Moonlight Motel, Route 66, Arizona, October 2019. I should have turned around the moment I saw the broken neon sign flickering against the desert twilight. Tell it read, the missing letters lost to time and neglect, casting sickly pink shadows across the cracked asphalt. But my car had been running on fumes for the last 30 miles, and this godforsaken stretch of old Route 66 offered nothing but sand, scrub brush, and the skeletal remains of America's forgotten roadside dreams. The Moonlight Motel had been abandoned for at least a decade, maybe two. Paint peeled from its walls like diseased skin, revealing rotting wood underneath. Broken windows stared out like hollow eye sockets, and tumbleweeds had claimed the parking lot as their graveyard. I should have kept driving. I should have risked running out of gas. I should have done anything except pull into that cursed place. But I was tired. Bone deep exhausted from 3 days of driving cross-country after my divorce, and the nearest town was still 40 miles away. My phone showed no signal, hadn't for hours. The sun was setting fast, painting the desert the color of dried blood, and the temperature would drop 30 degrees once darkness fell. I convinced myself I'd just sleep in my car for a few hours, maybe find some shelter from the wind that was already picking up. The moment I stepped onto the property, the air changed. It became thick, oppressive, like breathing through wet cloth. The silence was absolute, no insects, no wind through the buildings, nothing. Even my footsteps seemed muffled, as if the very atmosphere was swallowing sound. I walked toward what had once been the motel office, its door hanging askew on rusted hinges. Through the grimy windows, I could make out an old reception desk, covered in dust and debris. Above it, a clock had stopped at 3:33. The time made my skin crawl for reasons I couldn't explain. That's when I heard it for the first time, a soft scratching sound, like fingernails dragging across wood. It came from somewhere inside the office, rhythmic and deliberate. Scratch. 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 I told myself it was probably just a rat or desert animal that had made a nest inside, but my hands were already shaking as I pushed the door open. The scratching stopped the instant I crossed the threshold. The office reeked of decay and something else, something sweet and cloying that reminded me of overripe fruit. Dust motes danced in the dying light filtering through broken windows, and papers scattered across the floor rustled with each step I took. The guest registry lay open on the desk, its pages yellowed and warped. Most of the entries were illegible, faded ink bleeding into water-stained paper, but one line caught my eye. October 13, 1987, Room 7, Family of 4, Thompson. Below it, someone had scrawled in red ink, "Never checked out." My blood turned to ice. Today was October 13th. I should have left then. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to get back in my car and drive until I found civilization or ran out of gas trying. But something held me there, a morbid curiosity, maybe, or some invisible force that seemed to whisper in my ear, urging me to stay. To explore. To discover what had happened to the Thompson family 32 years ago. The scratching started again, louder this time. It was coming from behind the desk, from a door marked manager. I approached slowly, my heart hammering so hard I was sure it would burst from my chest. The scratching grew more frantic as I got closer, as if whatever was making the noise knew I was coming. I reached for the door handle, my hand trembling so violently I could barely grasp it. The metal was ice cold despite the desert heat, and the moment my skin touched it, I heard something that made my soul shrivel, a child's voice, faint and hollow, calling out from somewhere impossibly far away. "Mommy? Daddy? Where are you?" I yanked my hand back as if the handle had burst into flames. The voice came again, clearer this time, and it was joined by others. A woman sobbing. A man shouting words I couldn't make out. And underneath it all, that relentless scratching, growing louder and more desperate with each passing second. I stumbled backward, knocking over a chair that crashed to the floor with a sound like gunfire in the oppressive silence. The voices stopped abruptly, replaced by something far worse, footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps moving across the floor above my head. Thump. 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 The ceiling creaked with each step, raining down decades of dust and debris. The footsteps were heading toward the staircase that led down to the office, and I realized with growing horror that I was about to come face to face with whatever was making that sound. I ran. I burst through the office door and into the parking lot, gasping for air that still felt thick and raw. My car seemed miles away, though it was only 50 feet. I fumbled for my keys, dropped them, picked them up with hands slick with sweat, and finally managed to unlock the door. But as I slid behind the wheel, I made the mistake of looking back at the office. In the window, silhouetted against the dim light inside, stood a figure. It was tall and impossibly thin, with arms that hung too long at its sides. Its head was tilted at an unnatural angle, as if its neck had been broken. And though I couldn't make out its features in the growing darkness, I could feel its gaze boring into me with an intensity that made my skin burn. I turned the key. The engine coughed but didn't start. I tried again, pumping the gas pedal. Nothing. A third time, and the engine turned over but immediately died. Behind me, I could hear a door opening, the slow, prolonged creak of rusted hinges. On the fourth try, the engine roared to life. I threw the car into reverse and floored it, gravel spraying as I backed away from the office. In my rearview mirror, I saw the figure step out of the building. Even in the dark, I could see that it wasn't quite right. Its movements were too fluid, too unnatural, like it was floating just above the ground. I should have kept driving. Should have gotten back on the highway and never looked back. But as I reached the edge of the parking lot, my headlight swept across something that made me slam on the brakes. Room 7. The door was open. Every rational part of my brain was screaming at me to leave, but I found myself putting the car in park and staring at that open doorway. Soft light flickered inside, not electric light, but the warm, dancing glow of candles or a fire. And I could hear something that made my breath catch in my throat. Laughter. Children's laughter, bright and innocent and completely at odds with the decay and desolation surrounding me. Before I knew what I was doing, I was out of the car and walking toward room 7. Each step felt like I was fighting against invisible restraints, as if the very air was trying to hold me back. But something stronger was pulling me forward, a need to know, to understand what had happened in this place. The laughter grew louder as I approached, joined by other sounds of domestic life. Dishes clinking. A television playing. A woman humming. It sounded so normal, so alive, that for a moment I wondered if I'd been wrong about the motel being abandoned. Maybe it was still operating. Maybe the office had just been neglected while the rooms were maintained. But as I got closer to the open door, the sounds began to distort. The laughter became shrill, hysterical. The television static buzzed and warped into something that sounded almost like screaming. The woman's humming turned into a low, mournful wail that raised every hair on my body. I stopped just outside the door, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might stop altogether. The light inside was pulsing now, growing brighter and dimmer in a rhythm that matched my racing pulse. And in that flickering illumination, I could see shadows moving, human shapes that danced and writhed against the walls in ways that defied explanation. "Hello?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. "Is someone there?" The sound stopped instantly. The light went out. The room fell into absolute darkness. For a long moment, nothing happened. I stood there in the doorway, straining to see into the blackness, every nerve in my body screaming at me to run. But I couldn't move. It was as if I'd been turned to stone. Then, from somewhere deep inside the room, I heard a voice. A man's voice, rough and desperate. Don't let them find us. Please. We've been hiding so long. So very long." "Who?" I managed to croak. "Who are you hiding from?" But instead of an answer, I heard something that nearly stopped my heart, the sound of my own voice, speaking words I had never said. "We're here to help. Room 7. The Thompson family. Check-in time." The voice was perfect, an exact replica of my own, but speaking from somewhere inside the dark room. And as I listened in horror, other voices joined in. My voice, repeated over and over, saying things I had never said, creating a nightmarish chorus of my own words twisted into something obscene. I stumbled backward, but my foot caught on something, a piece of rotted wood or debris, and I fell hard onto the concrete walkway. Pain shot through my back and elbows, but it broke whatever spell had been holding me. I scrambled to my feet and ran back toward my car, the chorus of my own voice following me through the darkness. But as I reached for the car door handle, I saw something that made my blood freeze. There, pressed against the passenger side window from the inside, was a child's handprint. Small, perfect, and still warm enough to fog the glass around it. My car had been locked. I was certain of it. But somehow, something had gotten inside. With trembling hands, I unlocked the door and slid behind the wheel, afraid to look at the passenger seat, afraid of what I might see. The engine started immediately this time, as if it too wanted to escape this cursed place. I threw it into drive and pressed the accelerator, gravel flying as I raced toward the highway. But in my rear-view mirror, I could see the motel growing brighter. Every room was illuminated now, warm yellow light pouring from windows that had been dark and broken just moments before. I could see figures moving inside, families going about their evening routines, children playing, couples watching television. The motel looked alive, vibrant, exactly as it must have appeared in its heyday. And standing in the center of the parking lot, watching my retreat, was the Thompson family. I could see them clearly in the supernatural light, a man, a woman, and 2 young children. They looked normal, alive, except for their eyes. Even at this distance, I could see their eyes were completely black, like holes punched through reality itself. The woman raised her hand and waved at me. A friendly, innocent gesture that filled me with such terror I nearly drove off the road. I didn't stop driving until I reached the next town, 40 miles down the highway. By then, my hands were cramped from gripping the steering wheel, and my shirt was soaked with sweat despite the cool desert night. I pulled into the first gas station I found, a modern, brightly lit place that felt like stepping back into the real world. The attendant was a young man with kind eyes and a genuine smile. The first normal human interaction I'd had in hours. "Rough night?" he asked, noting my disheveled appearance. "You could say that," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey, do you know anything about an old motel back down the highway? The Moonlight Motel?" His expression changed immediately. The smile faded, replaced by something that looked like fear. "You didn't stop there, did you?" he asked. I nodded, and he whistled low. "Man, you're lucky to be alive. That place has been cursed since the 80s. Family got murdered there, the Thompsons. Checked in one night and never checked out. Story goes that the manager went crazy, killed them all, then himself. They found the bodies a week later, all carved up real bad." My mouth went dry. "What happened to the manager?" "Never found him. But people say he's still there, along with the family. Folks who stop at that motel. Well, most of them don't make it back to tell about it. You're the first person I've met who actually got away." I wanted to tell him about the voices, the lights, the handprint on my window. But how could I explain something I didn't understand myself? Instead, I just thanked him and got back on the road, driving through the night until I reached civilization. That was 3 years ago, but I still think about the Moonlight Motel every day. I've researched the story since then, found newspaper articles about the Thompson family murder. The details match what the gas station attendant told me, but there are other stories too, dozens of disappearances over the years, all connected to that stretch of highway. But here's what haunts me most: I keep finding evidence that I never really left that place at all. Sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I see room 7 reflected behind me instead of my own room. My friends and family tell me I talk in my sleep now, carrying on conversations with people who aren't there. And last week, I found something in my car that made my blood run cold, a key ring with a plastic tag that read Moonlight Motel, Room 7. I don't remember taking it. I don't remember packing it. But there it was, sitting in my glove compartment like it had always belonged there. The worst part is the dreams. Every night, I dream I'm back at the motel, walking through those rotting hallways, listening to the sounds of families living their eternal routines behind locked doors. And in my dreams, I'm not a visitor anymore. I'm a resident. In my dreams, I never checked out. Sometimes I wake up and my sheets are covered in sand, fine, red desert sand that has no business being in my apartment in the city. And sometimes, just sometimes, I hear scratching coming from inside my walls. The same rhythmic sound I heard in the motel office, like fingernails dragging across wood. Scratch. 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 Last night, I heard a child's voice calling from my closet, "Are you coming to play with us?" We've been waiting so long. I've started driving past that stretch of highway on my way to work, taking the long way just to see if the motel is still there. And every time I look, it appears different. Sometimes it's the rotting ruin I remember. Sometimes it's bright and welcoming, with fresh paint and working neon signs. And sometimes, this is the part that terrifies me most, sometimes I can see my own car in the parking lot, and a figure standing in the doorway of room 7, waving at me with my own hand. I think I know what's happening to me. I think I understand why the gas station attendant was so surprised to see someone who had escaped the Moonlight Motel. The truth is, no one escapes. Not really. The motel doesn't just trap your body, it traps your soul, your essence, whatever makes you who you are. And once it has a piece of you, it can call you back anytime it wants. The scratching is getting louder. It's coming from my bedroom wall now, and I can hear voices whispering behind the drywall. Familiar voices. The Thompson family, calling my name, inviting me to join them. They sound so lonely, so desperate for company after all these years. And the strangest part is, I'm starting to want to answer. The motel is calling me home, and part of me, the part that belongs to it now, wants to go. Wants to drive back out into the desert, back to that cursed place, and take my rightful place among the residents of the Moonlight Motel. The handprint on my window is back. Every morning I clean it off, and every evening it reappears, small, perfect, belonging to a child who died 32 years ago but has never really left. Sometimes I put my own hand against it, and for just a moment, I can feel another hand pressing back from the other side of the glass. Cold. Desperate. Needing. I've tried to run. Tried to move to different cities, different states. But geography means nothing to the Moonlight Motel. Distance is just an illusion. I can be anywhere in the country, and I'll still hear that scratching in the walls. Still see room 7 reflected in every mirror. Still find that goddamn key in my pocket no matter how many times I throw it away. Tonight is October 13th again. 3 years to the day since I first stopped at the motel. I can feel it calling stronger than ever, pulling at something deep inside my chest like a fish hook in my heart. The voices are clearer now, more insistent. The Thompson family isn't asking anymore, they're demanding. Come home, they whisper. Come home to room 7. Your room is waiting. It's always been waiting. And God help me, I think I'm going to listen. I've loaded my car with enough gas to make it to the desert, and I've left this account for whoever finds it. Maybe it will serve as a warning to other travelers. Maybe it will help someone understand what happened to me. Or maybe it will just be another story about a man who disappeared on a lonely stretch of highway, leaving behind only questions and the lingering scent of desert sand. The scratching has stopped. The voices have gone quiet. Everything is perfectly still, and I know what that means. They're waiting for me. The residents of the Moonlight Motel are standing in their doorways, patient and eternal, ready to welcome their newest permanent guest. I can see my reflection in the black window beside my desk, but it's not my apartment behind me anymore. It's the motel parking lot, bathed in that sickly pink neon light. Room 7's door is open, and warm light spills out onto the cracked asphalt. Someone is waving at me from the doorway. Someone with my face, my clothes, my exact appearance. But their eyes are black holes, endless and hungry, and their smile is too wide, too knowing. My doppelganger mouths words I can somehow hear despite the glass between us. Check-in time. The key is in my hand now. I don't remember picking it up, but there it is, warm metal against my palm, with a plastic tag that reads Moonlight Motel, room 7. My room. My eternal resting place. I'm going to finish writing this, then I'm going to get in my car and drive. Not because I want to, but because I have to. Because some part of me never left that cursed place, and it's time for the rest of me to join it. To whoever finds this account, don't go looking for the Moonlight Motel. Don't let curiosity overcome common sense the way I did. Some places are meant to stay lost, forgotten, buried under decades of sand and neglect. But if you do find yourself on that stretch of Route 66 some night, and you see the broken neon sign flickering against the desert darkness, keep driving. Don't stop. Don't look back. And whatever you do, don't check in. Because at the Moonlight Motel, checkout time is never. The scratching has started again, coming from inside my car now. They're ready for me. The permanent residents of room 7 are waiting to welcome me home. I can hear them singing my name in perfect harmony, the Thompson family and all the others who came before, all the travelers who thought they were just stopping for the night and ended up staying forever. Soon I'll be singing too. Soon I'll be home. This account was found in an abandoned apartment in Phoenix, Arizona. The tenant, Marcus Webb, disappeared on October 13, 2022. His car was discovered 3 days later on a remote section of Old Route 66, but no trace of Mr. Webb was ever found. Local authorities report that the area where his vehicle was located matches the description of the former Moonlight Motel site, though no structure remains at those coordinates. The case remains unsolved. Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like and subscribe button, and then share it with your friends. Your support helps us grow and create even more awesome content. We appreciate you being part of the journey.